JJ McCarthy.
Yep.
The Braggs touched on it earlier on in the show with his worst of the day, and I think it's it's fair to throw that in there. Nobody wants to see talented players in the division get hurt, and in this case, just an intriguing player, regardless of what it all looked like. Now,
he played really well on Saturday too. I know he threw the pick, but he had some really nice throws.
And apparently played through this injury, which is probably not smart in a preseason game. But, from what I could gather, he was, feeling it a little bit, didn't think it was anything, kept going. And now there's that old partial tear in the meniscus, and they'll get in there and they'll decide in the surgery whether they want to just trim it, which is a faster recovery time, or actually do a full repair, which is a longer recovery time. Now, so you guys know I was spending a decent amount of time in Minnesota back around the draft time and after the draft with my family situation. And I always love listening to Paul Allen when I'm up there on KFan. And at one point, I think I actually still have the tweet drafted, saved in my drafts, because I wanted to tweet at them after listening to their show one morning. Because and I might have even brought this up on our show. I think I did.
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah. It sounded exactly like it did when the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky and were put him behind Mike Glennon. And when they drafted Justin Fields and they put him behind Andy Dalton. It's we got this first round pick and JJ McCarthy, but we're going to screw around and we're going to have Sam Darnold take all the starting reps. And he's the starter until otherwise. And it's just you're wasting time. We know how this ends. I'm telling you from experience that JJ McCarthy is going to end up starting before you want him to. And you're going to look back on it and be like, he should have gotten all the reps. So this obviously throws a wrench in all that, because he's going to miss some time here. And now he's not even going to be able to get those practice reps.
Right.
So I guess if the goal of the Vikings really was to kind of use this as a developmental year, if you're going to try to spin this positively at all for Minnesota, it's going to kind of force their hand that he's going to have to sit there and watch and sort of see things unfold. So I don't think it's the end of the world for JJ McCarthy. But also, if this ends up just being a trimming of the meniscus, that's I feel like something he could still be back by, depending on, these things are weird. It could be by the end of September, quite frankly, or it could be a longer thing that ends up, he misses the whole rookie season.
I'm trying to look up really quickly, if you trim your meniscus, does that now subject you to more meniscus type of injuries?
What it can lead to, yes, it can lead to, it's a faster recovery time, but it can lead to more sort of chronic pain issues later on in his career. So that's where man, if I'm the Vikings,
you're taking ligaments away, which gives you a better chance of more bone on bone. Steven's jumping in here.
Exactly. Yeah. The bone on bone. So when you get a little bit older, it's going to be more more painful, less mobility in there. It's what Dwayne Wade had happen to him in college at Marquette. They removed the meniscus or trimmed it, and it ended up causing issues later on in his career. So there's pros and cons. If you're going to be a good player like JJ McCarthy, you're probably better off just repairing it and taking your time with it instead.
All right.
Give us a like for little Steven. Everyone give a like for little Steven and his analysis, sir.
Some great injury analysis from little Steven there. I loved it. No, but yeah, he was explaining it better than I was. So that's long way of us saying it sounds like Sam Darnold, in the division, at least in the short term for the Vikings. And I don't know if that really impacts their wins and losses. I'm definitely higher than JJ McCarthy in the long term, obviously, but it would have been
this slows down the big picture for the Vikings with JJ. But in the short term, Sam Darnold's been playing pretty well as well. With Kevin O'Connell calling plays there and the kind of weapons they have in Minnesota, I think Sam Darnold's going to be a little better than people realize, with the Vikings this year. And I do think JJ McCarthy was starting to push because, as you said, anytime you have a rookie quarterback that's in the top 10, he's going to find his way into this starting spot at some point. They're going through this in Denver. They're going through this in New England. I was watching Steve Smith talk about it in terms of Bo Nix in Denver, and he was like, hey, guys, we all know what this is. They're going to say whatever they want, but at the end of the day, they have all the incentive in the world to have the rookie playing as soon as possible to prove that the pick was right. And so, every team goes through this. We know this as Bears fans, as Hoge mentioned multiple times. So, yeah, it hurts them, but for the short term, and maybe JJ would have been able to pick this up quickly and then, for big picture for his career, become the quarterback they all hope he is. But in the long term, no, now it makes their decision for them. This can be somewhat of a redshirt year. Maybe he shows up halfway through the season and becomes their starting quarterback, and they can take their time with it. The only thing they really are missing out with is, like you said, those reps, because, he threw that pick on Saturday. Not good. He doesn't have the dynamic arm like Caleb Williams to throw, these crazy circus passes with velocity and accuracy. He's trying to throw one into the flat and he overthrows it like he's not the number one pick, but at the same time, he's got a lot of talent and hit some guys in stride. Guys coming down the barrel, laying him out. He stood tall in the pocket and delivered some strikes, showing some toughness, showing some poise in the pocket. It sucks for them, it sucks, for football in general. Anybody that is laughing at this or rooting for injury, I always caution fans to not go that way. The football gods are always watching. So, one day it could be your guys that you root for. So, iron sharpens iron at practice, and so does it. Same goes for that saying in the division as well.
Well, Sam Darnold is the quarterback when the Bears first played the Vikings on November 24th. Just looking, Darnold has played the Bears in his career back in 2018. He was with the Jets, 14 of 29, 1 touchdown. Bears win 24-10. I think that was the Tariq Cohen long touchdown game. From
I think it was. But the thing about Darnold has been and has continued to be, he turns the ball over too much. And now I do think going to San Francisco and getting, that time
weapons
there with Kyle Shanahan and really sitting on the bench last year. We actually talked to Sam Darnold at the Super Bowl, I believe. I feel like we were talking to him on the floor at the media night. That might still exist.
What do we ask
somewhere.
him about?
I don't even know. But I do think the year in San Francisco will do him well. That being said, when you're this deep in your career and that continues to be an issue, turning the ball over, I just feel like it's going to, that's not really going to change completely. November 24th, that's a long time from now. So we'll have to continue to watch the JJ McCarthy thing, because if I'm thinking about matchups, Bears defense versus these two quarterbacks, as weird as it sounds, like, I think the Vikings would be better off against the Bears with JJ McCarthy in there, because his strength to me, now he's going to have rookie moments and he's going to turn the ball over too, but his strength to me, and as we talked about him going into the draft, is him operating the offense, understanding that he's a point guard, kind of that high level game manager type of player where just don't turn the ball over. And I feel like even if he had been thrown out there early as a rookie, I still think like he would have been able to do that. They might not, especially with those weapons he has to work with. And I just feel like Darnold's still going to be way more prone to making mistakes and trying to fit balls in the windows that aren't really there. And with this opportunistic Bears defense, which we all think is going to be taking the ball away a lot this year, it's just going to be something to watch. Because if I'm the Bears, I'm kind of sitting there like getting hungry about playing Sam Darnold and the takeaways I might be able to get.
Well, wasn't Sam Darnold the guy when he was on the Panthers that got caught on camera saying, "I'm seeing ghosts," And so to your point about the turnovers, you get caught saying that on video. That's not a great look. But to your point about playing under Shanahan, I think that's a great learning experience that every quarterback, I think, would get better by having. I think that JJ McCarthy will also have some turnover issues. with some of his arm strength, being a concern. I thought the QB school, JT O'Sullivan, he did some really great breakdowns here over the last few days, including Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy. And I think those things always help us as fans. Nick and Adam also were doing some film breakdown on Twitter, like those for me as somebody that doesn't understand every X and O in terms of football nuance, helps us become better football fans and smarter football fans. But QB school did a nice job with JJ McCarthy, and I thought there's some really interesting things in there. I don't know if you guys caught it, but the one thing that really stood out to me outside of JJ's pocket presence was this play where they had two wide receivers lined up, and the first wide receiver that was ahead, they were stacked, and the guy in front acted like he was blocking, like it was a run play, and then took off and ran the route, and that threw off both DBs and made them late on the receivers, and that gave JJ McCarthy the ability to fire it to an open receiver. So I thought that was a really interesting concept that I hope the Bears take and utilize. Everybody's stealing from each other these days in the NFL.
We all silly like the mayor.